Salute Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Hope you're doing well. Great to be with you tonight. We've got a big show, man. I look forward to it tonight. We're going to talk about our season preview, our player preview. Kick starts off with Julius Randle. First up, right, I love to get into it, and we're going to talk about a lot of last season, but obviously a new season ahead. Julius Randle coming back healthy. What can we expect? What do I want to see from Julius this season? We'll go through last season's stats as well. The main topic of the show, Julius Randle. Like I promised, we'll get into the player previews. But before we do that, guys, we'll do a latest roundup with the latest news, and let's talk about what the Knicks aren't doing with their final roster spot. There's been a couple of players now come off the board, and it makes me think that the Knicks will, stand pat and run it into the season with what we currently have. But should they sign someone for the $5.2 million taxpayer mid-level, right? There's a lot of reasons why that could be beneficial, I think, for the ball club. So we will get into that as well, and some live Q&A with the best chat in the biz, guys. Let's get into it. Great to be with you, CT, your host. If you're new here, welcome in, guys. Like and subscribe to the channel for more Knicks buzz. Like I said, we're going to ramp up our season previews for what is going to be a huge season ahead. Greetings, Keith from the ATL. Great to see you, man. Daniel, what's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Replay squad, shout out as well. Let's get into it. We'll start with the latest. We've got a big show tonight, so we'll get through it. And shout out to the chat. Howard, what's up? Obviously, man, we're closer to training camp now this month. Later in the month, media day. Look forward to hearing from the guys as well. But what a start to the season it's going to be. The Knicks actually got an extra national game that's been announced. So we will start there. And that is the preseason game against Minnesota. So shout out, that is going to now be on national TV. The preseason game on October 13 is going to be on national TV against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that is a good look, right? Today, the NBA announced that there's been some adjustments to the replay rules. It's been expanded to out-of-bounds calls now, after the change was approved by the league's board of governors today. Right, so that is a good look. Let us know your thoughts on that. And like I said, Knicks-Wolves preseason game at MSG October 13, now going to be on ESPN. So that is great. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the free agent news and some buzz having around. Robert Williams, there's been some talk that he might be on the block, but, I'll say my thoughts on that real quick, and I don't think he's a player that for the Knicks should be looking at. He can't stay healthy. I think talent-wise, I think Time Lord could, be a solid add for a team, but I mean, if we're trying to solve a center solution with a guy who's injury-prone, then it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm sure a lot of you, you guys may agree or disagree. Let us know. Get your comments in. What's up, Chop Low? Howard says we need the size. Yeah, Robert Williams is always hurt. 100%. Now, before we get into the Randle player preview, right, some of the names that are still available, right? Markel Fultz, I think, tops that list. But we don't have a need for anybody at the guard spot. So that's interesting. As I pull up a graphic now, a lot of these guys I had are now off the board. Davis Bertans is officially, playing in Dubai now. As we talked about last episode, Yurtseven, the center, is now going to be playing in Euro. And Jetty Osman going to be playing in Euro as well. Lonnie Walker is now with the Boston Celtics. So a lot of guys moving off the board, guys, but some of the names still available. Let us know your thoughts. Is Jay Crowder, Mook Morris, Mook Morris is still out there, although there was talk that he's looking at Philly and he's still looking at Cleveland as potential options. Landry Shamet, among the names, the best names available, I feel. Again, but he's at a position that the Knicks are really strong at. So that ties into a question that we need to be asking ourselves. Should the Knicks spend the $5.2 million taxpayer mid-level on some of these guys that not really worth it? Like, I mean, Landry Shamet, you could say he's worth $5.2 million, but for our roster, I don't think he's going to look at the Knicks and say, yeah, that's a great opportunity. I'm going to get plenty of burn. That roster's stacked. And so I don't think he'll be seriously looking at the Knicks. But for the Knicks to sign someone for $5.2 million and use later as a trade chip for a center, I think that ideally is the best case scenario. But unfortunately, I don't think there's anyone out there realistic that one would say to the Knicks, yeah, I'll take the $5.2 million over another team because I'm not going to get many minutes. And the other thing is, if all these guys are still available, are they really going to be trade chips later? You know what I mean? Like Markelle Fultz is still available. Is he going to be a player that a team looks at later and says, yeah, I'll trade for him after he joins the New York Knicks, right? So perfect world, I think the Knicks would have found someone for $5.2 million that other teams around the league at the trade deadline would look at and say, yeah, that's a player that we could go for. But right now, I don't think, all the guys available would probably be veterans minimum kind of guys. And that doesn't mean that the Knicks won't sign one more body for insurance. I mean, JaVale McGee is still a name out there. Bismack Biyombo, Boban, Moses Brown is another name, guys. Let us know your thoughts on that. Howard just says give Jericho a shot. I think that's the Knicks' plans. What's up, Delmar? Chop Low says, yeah, who's Time Lord? It's Robert Williams, man. He's on Portland. So I do think that, if he can get healthy, but I want to see a sample size. He has to work his way back to even being a name that the Knicks should, seriously entertain trading for. But right now it doesn't make any sense. Delmar likes JaVale McGee. We might be getting to that point, man, where, I don't think the Knicks feel desperate because they've got bodies, they've got Precious, they've got Jericho. Like, many people are looking at, a big season ahead for Jericho. And you've also got Ariel Hukporti on the two-way as well. We need to see what he looks like, of course, but he has promise, So when you're looking at that, you got four guys, assuming Mitchie's healthy for the opening night. You got four guys that can give you some minutes at the center spot. It might have to be by committee, early goings, but I think the New York Knicks will obviously be looking to shore up that spot at the trade deadline. So where I'm sitting right now, guys, is I don't think the Knicks are gonna, add someone for the $5.2 million for a center spot because I don't think there's anyone out there that's available that's worth that. Veterans minimum, that might happen. It could be a Bismack Biyombo. It could be a JaVale McGee. But I'm seriously thinking, like, if that was the case, the Knicks would have done it. The Knicks probably would have done something already. And so I think that we'll probably run it into the season as we currently sit. For the main reason is because if you are going to use the $5.2 million, it's going to be a trade chip. But there's no one really out there that's making a whole lot of sense. I mean, Landry Shamet, Isaac Okoro make the most sense. But like I said before, those guys wouldn't be looking at the Knicks saying, I'm going to sign with you guys because it's a logjam, right? One of these free agents, the agents and the player, their mindset is to go to a team where they can maximize their playing time, which is no surprise, maximize their opportunities. And the Knicks are stacked at the wing spot. So, I mean, Davis Bertans to me made probably the most sense because, he would clearly get minutes at the 4 because we are pretty light. But he's decided to sign in Dubai. And so that probably tells me that the Knicks weren't even interested as much as well. And yeah, Robert Williams, we haven't really seen him in action a whole lot recently, fam. And Delmar, yeah. So the buzz, I guess it started because Brian Windhorst said he's a potential trade candidate. So I guess that's where the buzz is coming from, fam. And look, and he's a very serviceable player. When healthy, he is a starting caliber player. But like I said, that is kind of fading because he hasn't been healthy recently. So yeah, get your comments in, guys. Replay squad, salute, guys. Smash that like button. We're about to get into the main topic, the Julius Randle. First up, player preview. But some of the names available still: JaVale McGee, Dennis Smith Jr., Reggie Bullock, familiar face. Once again, we're stacked at the wings position, so that doesn't make much sense to me. Jay Crowder, his game would fit with this squad. Personality and locker room fit would be questionable for me, but I'm not the one running this organization. Obviously, Leon will be doing all the background work, but yeah, Jay Crowder, in terms of insurance and fit, I think could fill a need, but the Knicks really like Keita Bates-Diop, and they really like Josh Hart, obviously. They really like Precious Achiuwa, who's going to be kind of stretched at the 4 and the 5 as well. If Kevin McCullough is healthy and his game is a bit more ready, he could give you minutes at the 4 at some point in the season as well. But ideal world, we do sign a 4 or a 5. I think that is the lightest part of the roster for where we sit. And D Cool, great to see you, my fam. Shout out. The chat's buzzing, guys. I appreciate you. D Cool says we don't need any more guards. Yeah, 100% agree. And it'll probably put off some of the current guards that are on the roster if we did sign another guard, like Cam Payne, for example. If we went and signed Markel Fultz, right? What's Cam Payne going to be thinking, man? What is he, 4th, 5th string? Tyler Kolek, you just spent a draft pick on him, So the Markel Fultz thing don't make much sense to me either, right? But of course, we are going to flip. Inevitably we will flip probably this pick, this spot. I mean, if we do sign someone for the 5.2 million, Boban. I mean, a lot of these guys like him and JaVale McGee will be available probably into the season, right? So, knock on wood, we don't suffer any injury. But if a couple guys or a guy goes down, there is going to be some free agents out there that we can just sign. So that could be why Leon Rose is keeping the final roster spot, available too. And we're going to talk a little bit about Julius playing the 5 spot, obviously, in this first up player preview, guys, as we transition. But let us know your thoughts on the Knicks final roster spot, guys. And one of the reasons I'm, starting with Julius Randle is because of, look, he missed most of last season. Of course, there's no surprise to anybody, but he is a most improved player, a 3-time All-Star as well, and a 2-time All-NBA, right? So, look, Julius Randle, this season is going to be huge for, obviously, him and for the team. So, I'm happy to start my player previews for this upcoming season with Julius, right? For no particular order. I just really want to get into the conversation and dive into some of the numbers. We'll look at Julius's shot charts as well, and we'll get your thoughts as well. So with each player, when I do this preview, starting with Julius tonight, we're going to go through last season. We're going to go through how they fit in the lineups, what is going to be their role for the upcoming season, and any improvements that I want to see, or what do I want to see them maintain, If they're doing things great, I want to see you maintain this. I want to see Julius bring back the energy, the rebounding, right? The passing game that he displayed, right? As well as some of the things that I think he can improve on as well. But we will start with last season. Of course, we'll look at his numbers now. Season 23 for the 24 season. And we'll ask you guys what stands out to you. But let's shout some more people out in the live chat. Ondios, salute. Great to see you. Johnny, Great to see you, Knicks 25 champs as well. Join the conversation, guys. This is interactive. And we keep it buzzing, as always, guys. And what a season ahead it's going to be. I'm hyped like no other season, right? So let me just explain what we're looking at on the screen right now. Obviously, on the left is his season stats from last season, and we'll add context to that as well, right? I always add context. And on the right-hand side, we have what I want to talk about is Julius Randle's career, his durability, games played, and specifically last season's plus minus as well, right? Let's start with the left. Last season, right, what stood out, man? Obviously, when Randle did play, he played 46 ball games for the New York Knicks and was a part of a winning team, right? So nobody can take that away. Minutes average was 35. That's exactly what I think he should average for this upcoming season as well. I think that's the sweet spot. And let me know what you guys think to that. Now, points per game, he averaged 24 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists as well. What I really like to see is the rebounds and the assists specifically. You know, we all know Julius Randle can put the ball in the cup, but expanding his game and being consistent is what can really help this team win a championship. And his rebounding, man, one of the best rebounding power forwards. And assist-wise, those numbers did go up. 5 assists is great. Last season, obviously that month of January, we will elaborate tonight on how telling that could be for the Knicks' chances of winning the championship this season. Steals 0.5, blocks 0.3. Now, field goals attempted, 18 shots a game, and he scored on 8 of them, right? 8.6. Shot 47% from the field and shot 31% from 3 with less attempts last season. So Julius Randle didn't shoot the 3 ball last season as much as he did in previous seasons, and we'll talk about that. Free throws was solid, almost 80% from the stripe, and offensive rebounds 2.2. Right, I want to talk about that because without Isaiah Hartenstein, Julius Randle's rebounding, crashing the glass is going to be really huge for this team moving ahead. 3.5 turnovers last season, and he averaged 2.7 fouls. Now, like I said, we'll keep the structure to it. So that was last season. What do you like from what you saw last season, guys? As I said, I love the assists. 5, 9 rebounds, almost 10. Now, I think you'll probably get more rebounds. Mitch, might have less minutes, might, be on the sidelines. No Isaiah Hartenstein. I think the table is set for Julius to probably average more rebounds, 9.2, right? Let's see. But that is a real strength for Ju and for this team, right? This identity is crashing the glass and dominating in the paint, right? And that's where we really missed Julius Randle last season in the playoffs. Obviously all the bodies went down, but specifically against Indiana, it hurt me to see Pascal Siakam, backing down Josh Hart, right? That just shouldn't be happening because Juju would be out there, right? So we really did miss Julius in the playoffs. We missed his rebounding. We missed his shot creation, of course. We missed his assisting and creation abilities, as well as the rebounding. Guys, Howard says we're a bit small. Yep, definitely. And we did miss Julius with that situation. Key says, I'm thinking more like 30 to 32. Keep him fresh for 35, 38 come playoff time. Yeah, that's solid. I like your thinking. I don't know how likely Tibbs will be to, reduce Randle's minutes. But what I said in a couple of shows back when we did our rotation minutes preview, guys, is that I think the Knicks will get a lot of blowout wins. And so will Tibbs want to rest some guys, and or will he let the bench cook, after the Knicks are up, let's say 13 points with 5 minutes remaining, will he just keep Randle and Brunson on the bench and just let whoever else is cooking close it out? That remains to be seen. I'll be surprised if Tibbs does that. But he really should. He should be more willing, to rest these guys. Because like you guys said, it's really important that we're healthy, come postseason, right? It's the most important thing, right? Regular season seeding and all of that is important, but not as important as getting to the finish line healthy, guys. As we saw, we were probably the best team in the East, or second best team in the East, but we just weren't healthy, right? So, yeah, I do like the idea of reducing Randle's minutes, but let's see. I think 35 is probably what we're going to expect early on, guys, and we'll see. But on the right now, I want to talk about Julius's career and his evolution. Look at the blue column, the plus minus, right? Now, plus minus is a good stat, right? But it's not everything. We always preface by saying that. It's how the team is looking, the other 4 guys on the court. But what's interesting is when you add context to it, is that it was the most success Julius Randle has had as a New York Knick, right? On the court, and that's a fact, right? In the 46 games played, Julius Randle was a plus 219, right? So that is an average of 4.7 points better that the New York Knicks are when Julius Randle is on the court per game. 4.7 points per game better than their opponents when Juju's on the court, right? But obviously 46 games, you gotta look at that in context, right? But the second thing I wanted to look at on the right is durability, right? Julius Randle is, for the most part, and throughout his whole career, has been very, very durable, right? Obviously, last season was an outlier because of, it was just a freak injury. He fell on his shoulder and it was just a bang play, a crash play. But look at the far right column. Outside of his rookie season, where he broke his leg in the first game, he's played 81, 74, 82, 73, 64, 71, 72, 77, and 46 games played. So outside of the first season, the rookie season, and the last season with the New York Knicks, he's averaged above 64. He's played above 64 games, right? Most into the 70s. For a player that plays physical, a player that plays with extra force and his size, is a really underrated quality that I don't think a lot of people or enough people give credit for Julius Randle, and that one of his best abilities is his availability. Now, like I said, rookie season, last season's an outlier. Let's see how this season looks, but it's fair to be optimistic that that Julius Randle will be mostly healthy and will be able to play 70 plus games. So that is really good for me, fam. Too. What's up, Danny? Great to see you. I'm doing well, man. Really looking forward to this season. How about signing Mook? Yeah, I'll be down for it. I think extra size, extra veteran presence at the 4 spot. Sign me up. But I do think he's probably looking at Philly being the hometown team for him. But we'll see. There's a bit of a logjam in Philly now too. Johnny says Randle's plus minus is very telling. CT, please discuss the Tibbs effect. Great point, Johnny. I think when we're looking at Julius Randle's Knicks career as a whole, I think it's been a match made in heaven with him and Tom Thibodeau. The mindset that they both have, the competitiveness, and they both just really want to win, right? And you could say, Randle has had some heated moments as a Knick, but it comes, I think, from a good place where Randle's competitiveness, his fire, is something that, it can't just be turned off, He plays with a passion, and like I said, he plays with a force as well. When he came to the Knicks, he was the top dog, and it's an adjustment for players. When Brunson came in, I can't speak enough of how highly Julius has adjusted. When Brunson became a New York Knick, I think you look at the success he had and the team had in January specifically, And if you look at the plus minus, the team had a lot of success when Julius was healthy. Now we're going to get into the fine margins of some of the things that we want to see him improve with, some of the things that we want to see him maintain in the next segment. But as a reflection of last season and Randle's career to date, I think it's only been upwards since he became a New York Knick. If you look at all those years with the Knicks, right? The first year was a bad team, but then the second season was the MIP, the breakout. There was a bit of a dip. Obviously, we know that he was a dip on that season, and in the last two seasons, Julius Randle's game specifically has gotten better, right? The season before last was the 3-point shooting, and then it dipped a little bit last season. But then last season's passing and passing game improved as well. Decision making, passing out of the double teams, and all of those things. But yeah, when it comes to Tibbs, Johnny, and guys, I think role is really important. Brunson just spoke about it recently on his pod as well. Shout out to Brunson and the roommates. Held the block party as well. That was buzzing. Let us know if anyone attended. I'd love to hear about it. It looked like a buzzing event. But specifically, Brunson did talk about how Tibbs, has you most prepared. And that's something that's been out there for a while. Julius has talked about it as well, that everybody on the Knicks feels super prepared in terms of Tom Thibodeau, telling each player what he needs from them, and their role. Right. I think Julius and Tibbs, go back since day one, both being, with the Knicks, and I think the respect is really there. It's super high, and Tibbs is a guy that gets the best out of Julius. Julius has always talked about a guy that, a coach, him needing a coach to really push him, guys, to that next level. Now, obviously, I'm really, curious to see how Julius, continues with this team, with Mikal Bridges now, OG Anunoby for a full season. But what has me optimistic is the facilitating. 5 assists last season. That's really solid from a power forward spot. But we really needed his shot creation as well. So the 24 points, right? I mean, that goes without saying, guys. The 24 points that Julius Randle provides, right, helps this team win a championship, right? I mean, as a two-way player, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, man, their body of work speaks for itself, right? But in terms of just impact on the New York Knicks, right, Julius Randle is the second best player on this team, no doubt about it, right? On different nights, he could be the best player. But we can't win a championship without a level of play from Julius Randle being, one of the top 2 players on this team. I don't think Mikal Bridges can be a second best player on a championship team right now. I don't think OG Anunoby can be the second best player on a championship team. So I think that's a really solid argument in favor of Julius Randle remaining on this team because, like I said, again, I'm happy to sing the praises of OG and Mikal, all night long. But I don't think those guys can be the second best player on a championship team. You need a level of scoring and shot creating that Julius Randle provides. And, and the facts are the facts. The Knicks fell short, in the second round. So we welcome Julius Randle's productivity back. And let's dive into the shot charts that I want to talk about and his role, right? And the lineups. So that is last season, guys. Let's talk a bit about lineups now. So I don't think Tibbs likes playing Randle at the center spot, right? For extended minutes. I don't think that's me just making things up. I think Tibbs has spoken on it before as well. I think he likes Randle at the 4. Most people do. That is his position. So I think the New York Knicks, as I pull up the roster now, the Knicks have a lot of bodies at center. Like I said, they've got Mitch, they've got Sims, they've got Huck Porty, they've got Precious as well. Right, that's enough bodies for centers that can hold minutes down 48 minutes at the 5 spot. Now, could we see Randle for small stretches? Absolutely at the 5. Could be 4 minutes, could be 2 minutes at a time. I think we might see that. But I don't think we're going to see Julius play extended minutes at the 5. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Would you like to see Julius play a little bit more at the 5? There's valid arguments for periods at a time with the shooting. You can play fast. You could get up and down the court, all of those things. But the way Tibbs loves to construct his defense, I think, is the hold up to Randle playing more at the 5. So I don't think that's going to happen as much. Guys, salute Wayne, what's up? So with that is the lineups. I think Julius should play the bulk of his minutes at the 4. If he's playing 35 minutes a night, 33 minutes, 35 minutes will be at the 4 spot, right? The Knicks like traditional centers, and I think, once again, guys, they will address it. Whether it is a Valanciunas, whether it is a Walker Kessler, one of those guys, whether it is Mitch just staying all season and Mitch staying healthy. I think we will see Julius play most of his ball at the 4, right? Now, with the lineups, who else will he be with? Well, the starting 5 is pretty much assumed right now. There could be nights where Dante DiVincenzo, I think, creeps in to the starting lineup, to the closing lineup. But I think if everybody's healthy, I think Dante comes off the bench. And so I think Julius really works well with OG. I think we saw that last season. The assist numbers, the ball movement, both can park out on the corners and they can shoot the mid-range. They can penetrate. They can both create off the dribble as well, guys. So I think that is really key. As I pull up now, Julius Randle's charts from last season. Now, pull it up on the bigger screen so we can all see it, fam. And I'm going to go through this. Yep, there we go. So this is Julius Randle's shot chart from last season, right? Courtesy of StatMuse. Shout out to them. Great outlet, great platform. So just the color code to explain it. It's basically the lighter the shade of blue, the lesser versus league average, right? The darker the blue or the black is the higher above league average. So let's look at the key strengths for Julius Randle, right? Shot 61% from the corner threes. Here, 61.1%. The league average was 39%, right? But Julius only took 11 of 18 shots from this spot, right? So how can we get Julius in this spot more, right? Ball movement off ball, right? Obviously, there's going to be a lot more mouths to feed, but a lot more facilitators with Mikal Bridges, with OG, with Dante, guys that can create off the dribble, right? So I want to see Julius, when he doesn't have the ball, one of the areas that I think he can get better at is just moving off the ball, right? Relocating, right? If there's an offensive rebound, relocate, right? Always be moving, seeing the ball, seeing the man. But this stands out to me, guys. In here in the left corner or the right corner for the players, which is 61%. Julius Randle, man, he almost, doubled the league average. So 11 of 18 shots was great. Obviously, Julius Randle eats in the paint. He was right at league average for the paint, 58.5% in the paint. The league average was 59.9%, right? So he shot 233 of 398, fam. Then we move over to the other corner, right? More positive signs. Julius Randle shot 42% from this corner, and the league average was 38.5%. So Julius shot 8 of 19 here in the corners. When we're looking at the decline in Julius Randle's three-point attempts, right? If Tibbs can get him in the corners a lot more, that's going to be nice. But we've obviously got guys like Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, so they're going to have to figure it out. I don't really care who shoots the corner three, just have the best three-point shooters that the Knicks have in the corners, right? But we've got so many. I mean, Dante, Bridges, OG, Randle, Brunson, Deuce McBride, even Josh Hart. We'll talk about him in his season preview coming up. He could be cash from the corners as well. But this is going to be critical to the New York Knicks defense. I mean, floor spacing. One of the pros to having Julius Randle play the 5 is that it's going to give you a 5-out look, right? Look at these numbers. I mean, 42% from that corner, 61% from that corner. Julius Randle could be a legit stretch 5 out in the corners. Let us know your thoughts, guys. Now we look at the elbows. So below league average last season, 28%, 29% basically from the elbow there. And the league average was 36.2%. So Julius Randle was 8% below league average in that one. But of course, he's a power forward, right? Most guys shooting those threes are backcourt players or wings, right? Over to the other elbow, we see close to the same, 28% as well. So what's interesting is right here as well, a little mid-range. Julius loves, as a lefty, the left-handed player, he loves that little mid-range on the baseline as well. He was almost 60% from that, and that is 17% above league average. But again, he only took 7 attempts, 4 of 7. So what do I want to see some improvement with Julius next up? What do I want to see him maintain is obviously, let's maintain these looks from the corners, right? Now, if his percentages don't look like they're improving from these elbows, then cool. Keep his attempts, lesser, right? As I bring up the attempts from 3 last season, Julius shot 5.3 attempts. I think he was something like 7 or 8 the previous season. So that, that declined because obviously we know Jalen Brunson had an amazing season, but Julius was injured as well. But what's interesting is 3-point attempts, 5 3-pointers made, just 1.7, right? So I'd really love to see that get up to 2.5, 3-pointers made a season, per game would be huge for the Knicks offense, right? But what's going to be really fascinating is with more shooters, could that stay the same? I don't think it's, shade on Julius, but he's not the best 3-point shooter out of so many that we have. We have, Mikal Bridges, we've got OG, we've got Brunson, we've got Dante. So he is further down the pecking order. But if you want Julius on the block, if you want Julius playmaking down low, getting those assists up, and you want him, reading the game from there and anticipating the double, then that is a great place to be as well for Julius Randle. Look at the paint, right at league average, but huge usage in the paint there as well. So that was a big adjustment for Julius last season, guys. Less threes, more paint touches, and that's where he got his 5 assists a night as well. So other things that I want to see Julius maintain, right? So to clarify, improvements, there's not a whole lot that we haven't already seen Julius do well, but what I want to see is off-ball movement, continue to move when you don't have the ball. Julius, he has a tendency to stand around a bit, right? And he's a dominant player when he has the ball, but, throw back to the 72 Knicks when we won the championship. We were the best team at player movement, ball movement, and we can be the same once again. I think we can break the championship drought, right? When all the players are connected, and can't wait for training camp and for these guys to to gel and build more chemistry, right? That's why I talked about preseason. It is important when you're integrating new teammates with that. So yeah, movement off the ball for Julius. Now, things that I just want to see him maintain, because he did a hell of a job doing it last season. But first up is crash the glass, fam. It's so important that the New York Knicks now, with our center situation iffy, with no more Isaiah Hartenstein there to crash the glass, right? Mitch playing less minutes, maybe injured sometimes. Julius Randle's rebounding. You could make a case that it's the most important skill set for the team, or one of the top skill sets on this team. Now, he averaged 9, almost 10 boards last season, right? So what I want to see Julius maintain is crash the glass, man. Get those rebounds up to 10 or 11 if you can. Now, he might be playing a little less minutes. OG could be, stealing some of those boards. But basically, if he can just maintain what he does well, then I think that's going to be important, because we subtract Isaiah Hartenstein. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But we're welcoming the addition back of Julius Randle and his rebounding as well. So with that one, I think Julius Randle with the rebounding is key. Maintain it, man. Next up, passing out of the doubles. Passing out of the double teams. Julius Randle averaged 5 assists for last season. That could go up, right? The scoring could go down, but the passing, I think, has a real shot to go up. 5 assists. This is a guy who could be triple-double threat, I think, every single night. So with that said, Julius could average, I think, 5, 6, 7, 8 assists if guys are hitting their shots, and getting good looks as well. So obviously another thing that Julius does well is the durability. Outside of last season. So they're the 3 things that I hope, based on his career trajectory, continue to maintain. Durability, passing numbers out of the doubles and the assists, and of course, crashing the glass, fam. One more improvement is obviously, and that ties into the off-ball movement, is being engaged, all the time, being focused defensively as well. Now, we're probably not going to see Julius, in a defensive stance, locking people down. But like I see my man Howard in the chat, talking about Julius being, subpar defensively as well. That is a knock on Julius Randle, and that is, something that, he has to show, on a team that's going to win a championship. He's going to have to buckle down and take pride on the defensive side, as well, when he doesn't have the ball, but when he's defending possessions. Now, when he's engaged and when he's locked in, I think Julius can win his one-on-one matchups, right? If it's if it's against guys like Pascal Siakam, Jason Tatum, he has the physical tools, he has the strength, he has the ability to win those matchups defensively, in clutch possessions. Now, obviously, those guys, all-stars, are going to have their way for the most part, right? It's an offensive-driven league, and and the refs do call, ticky-tack contact. You can't be as physical as he used to be, you know what I mean. But with that said, I think Julius could still use his physicality to his advantage, right? Boxing out, setting good screens, all of those things. Well, just throw your weight around, Julius. And like I said, one of those things we missed last season, guys, was the enforcer aspect. And I think Julius is the closest thing to that. That's something that we did miss too. I know, you guys have talked about it a lot, and Knicks Nation, we missed that enforcer, and it was tough in the playoffs seeing, Tyrese Halliburton, skip around, being, laughing and all of that. And it was also tough seeing, once again, Pascal Siakam, back down Josh Hart, and have his way with that matchup and that. So, I'm so looking forward to seeing Julius back healthy with this club. Now, what the future holds, there's been so much talk, so much speculation over Julius Randle's future. I think a lot of it has to do with his contract situation more so, rather than last year's play or injury. I mean, most people don't look at Julius Randle as as a player who's susceptible to injuries because of the stats here on the screen. But when we talk about last season, it was an outlier with the injury. But moving forward, Julius Randle's he's done everything in New York outside of win a chip. He's become an All NBA player, an All Star, an MIP. There's literally one box left to tick, right? And he will go down as a Knicks legend, is help this team win a championship, as will all the other guys on the roster. And I think I go back to what I said before. Julius is the second most talented player on this roster, on the top two most talented players, and we need him at his best, right? Now, whatever the team needs on any given night, that the game is going to dictate that, whether it's the passing or the individual matchups. But in terms of reading the game, I think is probably at the top, right? Reading when to shoot the three, because we've seen these numbers now, right? He's not great from the elbows, but he's great in the corners. Knowing when to kick it out, right? Knowing when to beat your man 1v1 and back him down and get the easy bucket. All of those things are going to contribute to, I think, to Julius having a huge year and then the Knicks winning, right? But obviously we will talk about coaching, because Tibbs, one of the underrated things about Tibbs, guys, and what's up, Buzzer? Great to see you, fam. We're buzzing with the chat. Preview with Julius Randle. I think one of the things that is underrated with Tibbs is, yes, he's very meticulous with, fine details, with preparing guys and always barking orders on the sidelines and that. But one of the things that Tibbs has done well with Julius is when Julius got to the Knicks, right, he gave him freedom, right? Julius Randle, I don't think, had that kind of usage on any other team previously to joining the New York Knicks, and he unlocked Julius to become, an All-Star, an All-NBA, most improved player. So I think one of the underrated things with Tibbs is he lets a player be who they are, right? He lets you wild out a bit. He lets you freestyle. He lets you read the game. What does Tibbs always say? He says, read what the game is telling you, right? He ain't like a certain coaches, I think, like a Rick Carlisle or someone who calls out a play every single possession. Tibbs doesn't do that, right? He lets the players be who they want to be, and obviously he'll pull you if it's going south, but he'll let players do what they do best, right? So with that said, Brunson, Randle, all the guys with the rock, they're going to read what the defense has given them, and they're going to take advantage of that. So I think turnovers, 3.5 turnovers actually is pretty solid. I think Julius had definitely got those turnovers down last season as well. Maybe he had a little less usage, obviously with a big year from Brunson and having less games played. But if Julius can average around 3 turnovers or less, then I'm okay with that, because he does have the ball in his hands a lot. He is a playmaking power forward as well. So yeah, outside of that, let us know if I've missed anything. Let us know if you want to add something, you agree with what I'm saying or disagree. I appreciate your opinion, as always. But yeah, I can't stress enough how important it is, for Julius to be healthy on this team, because, I don't think we can win a championship, right, without a healthy Julius Randle or a player of his level in the starting lineup for the future, right? So that, I guess that can address any trade discussion. If the Knicks or Julius, aren't on this team moving forward, or the Knicks make a trade, or Julius just contract expires, right? The Knicks can't win a championship unless they bring in another player of that high enough quality. Because I simply don't think that OG, Mikal Bridges, Dante and all that's enough to get to the get past the third or the fourth round. You might get past the second round, as we saw. Most likely we would have beaten Indiana. I think, if everybody was, if the guys that we had towards the end were still healthy with Bogdanovich and OG. But to get past Boston in the third round, or get past, the team in the West in the fourth round, then no, I don't think the Knicks can do it without a Julius, without that production, without a player that gives you that kind of production as well. Now, does the team function better in different ways without a Julius? Defensively, they can play, they can switch better. They can get up and down the court faster as well. Obviously, each player has their pros and their cons. And I've definitely been frustrated with Julius Randle in his defense at times. But like I said again, in the playoffs as well, we obviously need to see Julius, play consistent, play better in the playoffs too. But he's still young, 30 years old, and hopefully he gets many more opportunities with this club, and we get to see it, in the playoffs, because I think him and JB really work. I think they really work well off of each other. I think that's something that I probably need to talk about more now with teams that have success winning. I think when you have a good guard and a good front court player, backcourt and a front court player, they tend to play better off of each other. One criticism with Boston, I think, is that Brown and Tatum, they don't play as well off of each other, because they basically are two front court players, and they just take turns. They're basically like, you take your turn, I take my turn, kind of thing. But when it comes to Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, I think you can play inside out. Especially with Brunson's 3-point shooting going to another level, right? You're comfortable with him playing out on the perimeter, even if he's not getting as much dribble penetration, because he can shoot the three really well. He can facilitate. But then you've also got Julius on the block, who can rebound, can post up as well, can draw fouls too. So I think that is a recipe for a Knicks championship. I think a good front court player and a good backcourt player. And I think we have enough to get us to win the chip this season. I think well and truly, officially, the Knicks window is open now. Now, it might not be as wide open as it's going to be this season because of, the new pieces and all of that. Maybe the second season, of Mikal Bridges, or the third season, the chemistry might be better. But the time is right now, If everybody's healthy, the New York Knicks can win the championship this year, right? I believe there's probably only one team in the West, Oklahoma, that could be a 50-50 matchup. I think the Knicks can be better than Denver. I think the Knicks can beat Dallas. If we were healthy and we made the finals last season, we would have had a shot against Dallas. Outside of that, out West, Minnesota, I think we beat them enough to show that we can beat them again. But it's really just getting out of the East, right? I say all of that to say, if the Knicks can just get out of the East, guys, then the window is open right now, and we need all of our guys fit, firing, and healthy too. Gerard says, when are Knicks fans going to learn that the negative narratives and trade talks isn't created by Knicks fans? Yep, that's a good point. Appreciate your players, says. Yep. Howard says, Julius finds himself 1-in-1. I'm fine. But he never recognizes the blind small ways to strip big strong. So yeah, he's got some criticisms for Julius. And look, yeah, there is people that are pro Julius. There is people that are against Julius in terms of thinking that there can be better fits on this team, right? Everyone's got their opinion. I think we've seen enough from last season, well and truly, to say that Julius Randle, on this team is a big plus in terms of, specific matchups, winning in general. Obviously, everyone just has to play better in the playoffs too. Even some of our guys had down performances in some of these playoff games, as well. But I mean, last season's sample was so telling because we're better than Philly. We can beat them. We went past them. We're better than Indiana. We got past them. So I'm looking at more like whether you like a player more than others, it's all about the team for me right now. Just do whatever each player needs to do to win, right? Bury all of the negativity, and just go out there and execute, right? One of the underrated reasons why, the Knicks have, elevated so highly quickly is because, Brunson's leadership on the court as well. He's a floor general, right? Yes, he's a score first point guard right now because he's so great at it, and that is what the team needs sometimes. But if you look at that month of January, once again, with Julius, Julius was getting his points. He was getting plenty of production, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, right? I mean, that's all-star numbers and some of the best numbers of his career, right? And in terms of the plus-minus, that was the best year of Julius Randle's career. And he was obviously on a better team, but we would have kept winning with Julius. So that plus-minus actually would have gone up even more, right? He probably would have finished the season plus 300, plus 400 even, right? If Julius had played another 30, basically played another 36 games, right? So huge season to look forward to. We'll obviously continue to talk about all the players as we go along, but this was the Julius Randle centric focused player preview. The shot chart was really interesting, I think, for me going through it because I wasn't really focused on just how good Julius was, shooting the corners. Here only 11 of 18 attempts, 61% from that corner, and then the 42% from the other corner. He's really good on the elbow there, on the baseline, 57%, but he only took 7 attempts there as well. But I think Julius is going to be able to get whatever he wants. The floor spacing, guys, is going to be great. It's going to be so good with all of the shooters we have, all of the playmaking we have, the dribble penetration we have. Julius will get the best looks that he's ever had in his career, I think. Because if you're a defense now, all of your schemes used to be around how to stop Brunson, how to stop Randle. And those still will be the focal points of the other team's, schemes. However, I mean, it can't just be focused on them because you've got Dante DiVincenzo, you've got OG who can make you pay. You've got Mikal Bridges, who was, the lead usage guy in Brooklyn. So he's no stranger to taking over as well. And so I think, especially if Brunson's game goes to another level, it's just going to open things up, for Julius Randle to do whatever he wants. But it's just going to be, how does he read the game? Does he decide to make the right kickouts, the right passing, and also how engaged is he defensively, and how good is his movement off ball? But I mean, I think Tibbs is going to straighten all of this out in the training camp. When these guys get their first run throughs and scrimmages with all of these guys and figuring out, different 5-man units, man, I think the New York Knicks are going to be, they're going to be the top 3 teams in the league, I think, this season. Not just East, but now the league. I think you obviously look at, Boston, but, there's reasons to believe there's going to be a drop-off, with the hangover. And I think KP, being, missing the first few months. And then we also look at, OKC got, obviously strengthened a hell of a lot with Isaiah and with Caruso, with a young team growing as well. But I think we've surpassed the Denver Nuggets. I think we're better than Minnesota in terms of depth. And I think it's basically go time right now. Johnny says January Julius is welcome. Yeah, we just need to see more of it, and more of the whole team, guys, and that is where it's at. Shot selection, Like I said, I'm okay with Julius keeping the 3-point attempts down as long as he's shooting the right ones, pick his spots. I think the corner threes are clearly money. The elbow threes, was a decline. Free throws attempted. Let's talk about that. 6.6 last season. Made 5.1 of them. Shot almost 80% from the free throw. So I think Julius's free throw shooting can get better. Remember, he does miss a couple of the second ones. There was a couple of clutch free throws that he had some issues with. But I think those attempts, 6.6, I think that's underrated as well, because he gets to the free throw line. He uses his, agility to get to the cup. For a power forward, let's not forget, Julius is quicker than most power forwards, right? He's got feline quickness, in the words of Clyde, right? He's got a really good, quick first, second step where he can get to the, with his left. Obviously, he gets his shoulder low, and he can beat his man, getting to the bucket. So yeah, man, if he can get more free throw attempts, great. Get the other team in foul trouble. And like I said, it's important we have that paint presence, because without Isaiah, I mean, Mitchie, we'll talk about him in his preview. There's a lot to talk about with Mitchie, man, but in terms of just being a focal point in the paint, Mitchie's great at, eating up second chance points, getting the rebound and the putbacks, but he's not a go-to guy. So what I want to say is, I don't want the New York Knicks to fall in love with just being a shooting team, right? We've got a lot of great shooters, and we can play a lot of spread lineups, right? But you can live by the three, you can die by the three, right? It's important to have a different look and a paint presence that you can go to as well, so you can play inside and out, and you can not be too predictable. One of the reasons why I think Boston is actually really beatable is because you see their ebbs and their flows, man. They go cold on certain nights where they just fall in love with the three. Jason Tatum can't buy a bucket sometimes. Jaylen Brown starts to go isolation and he turns it over. And then you got Al Horford, who's aging, and he's a jump shooting big. And you got Kristaps Porzingis, who is also a jump shooting big as well. So Boston actually missing a bit of that paint presence that I think the New York Knicks do have with Julius Randle. So that is really important with that. Howard says, great show, always great to talk and get Bill D before the season. Yeah, we're going to talk to Bill D. We'll talk to a lot of our usual guests as well, and before the season begins, man, of course. John says we should keep Randle. I wouldn't trade him for Towns. Yeah, we haven't even talked about Julius's contract situation, but at $29 million for his production, right? It's among the best in the league in terms of, when he's producing and he's healthy, he's going to play at an all-star level for $29 million. But of course that number is probably going to go up, which is, the reason why there hasn't been an extension yet. I still think there will be an extension. I'd love to know where you sit. Do you think Julius Randle will get extended with the Knicks, or will he leave in free agency? I think there will be a number that they both agree on, but I understand why both sides aren't desperate right now, because once you run it into the season, there's a lot more you can talk about, in terms of current trajectory, current team play, current performances. Julius's agent can use that in negotiations. The Knicks can use whatever's happening in negotiations as well. Yeah, when it comes to to Julius's next contract, right? And look, it's difficult right now because Julius was missed a lot of last season. If Julius was healthy all of last season, and let's say we made the Eastern Conference Finals, let's say we made the NBA Finals, I think it'd be a no-brainer. I think negotiations would have happened more thoroughly and would have concluded. But I think right now, Julius missing so much of last season and new pieces on the team. I think the front office specifically is going to be, more focused on, how everything looks to start the season, and then that might push forward, those negotiations a lot more. So yeah, I agree, guys. I'm not a Towns fan. I would prefer Julius Randle over Towns. Right? There's things that Towns does better. There's no doubt about it. But there is things that Julius Randle does better as well. And in terms of fit right now, Shares V also says I'm not a Towns fan. Johnny says Tibbs knows Towns. If he wants him, Leon will get him. That's a great point too, fam. As always, you're on the money. I think, one of the underrated things that the Knicks, with the New York Knicks is that if they haven't done something, it's because for good reason, right? And if I just include an example about some of these free agents, right? The Knicks know all these guys. They know who's available, who's not, right? So if Davis Bertans is now playing in Europe, there's a reason that the Knicks obviously, didn't bring him in. They could have. Lonnie Walker is with the Boston Celtics. The Knicks brought in Omer Yurtseven for a workout, but he decided that, an unguaranteed deal was probably not right for him, or a training camp invite, because there's reports that he wasn't happy with what was offered, right? Jetty Osman is now in Europe as well. So all these moves the Knicks haven't made is because they don't want to make these moves as well. Now Landry Shamet, Isaac Okoro, we haven't signed them. Probably we're looking at the situation where it's a logjam with the roster right now with them, and they're looking at it the same. So, yeah, if we do add somebody, fam, I think it'll be after training camp. Maybe an injury. Maybe we look at, a spot, where a veteran just agrees or says, yeah, I'll take that Knicks final spot, whether it is a power forward or a big man. But I'm kind of surprised, but I'm not, that we haven't used the 5.2 million, guys. Like I explained before, I think all of the guys available for 5.2 million, they don't make much sense. Where they're going to be a good trade chip, and if the Knicks can't do that, then there's probably no point spending it. Maybe we save it for the buyout guys as well. So. It's great to talk again, and really looking forward to this season, right? Hope you've enjoyed the first player preview of the season as we conclude the show, and shout everyone out for rocking out with us tonight. Obviously, next up will be another player preview. As I promised, we're going to go through every single player and talk about their upcoming season ahead. But yeah, the sky's the limit for this season ahead for Julius, man. I hope he gets the bag. I hope he helps the Knicks win a championship. That's all I want to see, man. I just want to see the team win. I want to see what's best for the team first, obviously, but individually for each player. I hope they get the platform that they need. I think we have all the pieces we need. We just need good health. We need execution, right? You can't predict execution, right? It's kind of like, simulation. You can't just simulate who's going to win the championship. The games actually have to be played, right? Players could have a meltdown. Players could get injured. The games have to be played. But on paper, I think the New York Knicks can win it all, fam. And looking forward to talking to you all on the next show. And smash that like button. Guys, hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. And next up, let's talk about Jalen Brunson. Obviously, we'll start with the two leaders in our player preview. But peace, health, happiness, blessings to everyone. Training camp, the end of the month. We'll bring any latest breaking news that pops to you straight away. I'm talking to some guests as well. So we'll be bringing on some guests soon to preview the season further. And orange and blue skies, baby. Let's go. The streets are buzzing. See you on the next one, guys. Peace.